Module 1, Lesson 18, Using Exposure Compensation, Decreasing Exposure. In this lesson, we'll look at another way of using exposure compensation. You'll learn to use it to decrease your exposure when your subject is too bright. In situations where you take a photo using an auto exposure mode and the subject is too bright, overexposed, you need to use exposure compensation to decrease the amount of light on your subject. You will need to use this setting when you're in very bright conditions like at the beach or when you're in the snow. With your camera in aperture priority mode, using exposure compensation will alter your shutter speed. In shutter priority mode, it will adjust your aperture. In program mode, it usually alters your shutter speed, although this may vary from camera to camera. You'll need to check your settings once you have dialed in the amount of compensation you want, especially when using aperture priority or program mode and you're already using a slow shutter speed. You do not want your shutter speed to be too slow unless you're using a tripod. Using exposure compensation requires a degree of guesswork to get it right. It can also be fiddly to adjust on some cameras. Taking this additional step slows down the process of taking photos, and it's necessary to know how to use it if you want to take photos using any of the auto or semi-auto modes. Module 1, Photography Course Challenge number 18. The aim of this challenge is to show you how you can use exposure compensation when your subject is too light. For today's photo, you'll need to have your subject in bright sun with a background that is dark and shaded from the sun, or be at the beach, in a desert, or in the snow on a sunny day. So I've got a nice light coloured subject. It's quite sunny, it's quite hot out here, and the background's nice and dark. It's all in the shade, so I'm going to take some photos with the normal setting and then using exposure compensation. The background must make up a large part of your composition. With your subject in the bright sun and a large part of your composition in the shade, take a few photos. If you have well-exposed photos, you may not have enough contrast in the composition. So find a different location or compose your photos so the subject is taking up less of the frame. You're aiming to see how your subject can be overexposed, too bright, in situations like this. Once you have a subject that's looking too bright, adjust your exposure compensation to -1 and take a photo, and then -2 and take another photo, and compare the results. As I encouraged you yesterday, we're still at the very early stage of this course, and the aim with making these photos is more to get a feel for your camera and how you can control the different settings. These are some of the more technical basics, and once you've got a feel for these, we'll be able to get into some of the more interesting, fun photography. Key points from this lesson are: you can use exposure compensation when your subject is too bright. Using exposure compensation requires a degree of guesswork to get it right.